welcome to the 5th chapter of our ChatGPT course. Now, you've made it so far already, and in this chapter, we're going to be going through how you can make money with ChatGPT. So we've gone through how we use it, we've gone through an introduction, explained a bunch of the use cases, but now, how do we put those use cases to generate revenue through ChatGPT? So now there are a couple ways that I'm going to go through. Obviously, this doesn't cover everything, but also ChatGPT is super new. So there are going to be so many more opportunities coming up as we move along and as this technology progresses, improves, and develops. Now, the first and one of the most self-explanatory ways of generating revenue with ChatGPT is copywriting. There are so many opportunities for those wanting to generate content for their social media platforms, for blogs, things like that. And so you can jump onto platforms like Fiverr, Airtasker, Freelancer, and find those opportunities. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, doesn't that mean that anyone can jump into ChatGPT and generate the content themselves? Now, while it does mean that they can, a lot of people don't have the time, but also haven't mastered the art of prompt engineering. Now, what I would recommend is identifying what type of copywriting you would like to do. Now, whether that's for social media, writing blog posts, or even website content, find one of those niches, hone in on that, and generate a few examples that you can show potential clients. So when you reach out to people on Airtasker, Fiverr, or even Freelancer, you'll be able to provide them with examples of things that you can produce and therefore give you a higher chance of being accepted and winning the bid for those projects. Now, copywriting is high in demand, so you will find a lot of opportunities online. And if you pick up a few jobs, you can take this from being a side hustle to really a primary source of income if you put in the effort. Similarly, another point that I've got down here is writing content for businesses. Now, while that's similar to copywriting jobs you would more find as single projects. But if you manage to land yourself a contract with a business or a company, you can be generating their content on a monthly basis and generating revenue upwards of $3,000 a month. I do also want to run you through my example structure as to how I would do this for a website or for a client. What I would do is I would start up a few different chats depending on the content that I want to generate. So if I'm making their blog posts, their website content, and their social media content, I would start up 3 different chats in ChatGPT, and in each one of those, I would provide the context to the company. So I would just copy and paste that bit of context, explain what the company's about, I'd explain what their values and their mission statement is, and I would copy and paste that into a few different chats. So what I would do is I would create a bunch of chats, one saying website content, the other one social media content, and I can have one that says blog posts. And what that does is allow me to organize the content that I'm creating for this specific business. Now, of course, if you have a bunch of projects or different companies you're working for, you might also want to organize the different chats for that company, because then you've got the context saved in each one of those chats. So I would set that up and then be able to say, generate hero content for my baby toy website. And it'll go ahead and write that for you. So it'll give you a few ideas, and obviously you can take this. What I like to do is I like to copy and paste the responses into a Google Doc, and I organize those responses there instead of in ChatGPT. But I also do like keeping the ChatGPT conversations so that it has the context for the next time I go to use it. Another way you can be generating revenue with ChatGPT is actually generating social media content. Now, that can be your own content if you're an influencer or if you'd like to be an influencer, but also in a similar sense to the previous 2 points, you can be generating social media content for companies and businesses. There are a lot of small businesses on social media, a lot of them without the time to generate social media content. And again, if you jump on those 3 platforms, for example, Airtasker, Fiverr, or Freelancer, and I'm sure there are a whole bunch of other platforms on there offering similar roles and similar projects. But if you jump on there, filter your results down to social media content, social media marketing, copywriting, blog posts, content generation, things like that, you'll find yourself landing a few projects that are easy for you to get started with ChatGPT. So that covers the content generation method of generating revenue with ChatGPT. Now, in our next video, we're going to be going through how you can generate revenue with ebooks. So I'll see you in the next one. Hello and welcome, and in this video we're going to be going through how you can generate revenue with ChatGPT by creating your own ebooks. Now, you may have come across a lot of ebooks or digital books online and thought to yourself, I can generate that about a certain topic, but either not being the best at writing, not wanted to, not had the time or the effort for you to generate that. But now with ChatGPT, you can do just that. You can generate your own ebooks and sell them online using ChatGPT. So how would we get started with this? First thing I would do is come up with a topic. Of course, you can ask ChatGPT to do that, but like I said in one of our earlier videos, I feel like the best thing to use ChatGPT for is something you already have some background and knowledge about. So the example I'm going to use is generating an ebook about web development. Now I wanted to focus on Next.js, Tailwind CSS for styling, and Vercel as a deployment platform. Now, if you don't know too much about web development, that's okay, but I will show you exactly how I do this. So I'm going to feed it the prompt, I want to write a book on web development for beginners. Note that I explicitly mentioned I want it to be for beginners. I stated the topic, which is web development, and I also provided the frameworks that I wanted to focus on. I then went to give it a basic structure and explain the main things that I wanted to include or make sure that it doesn't leave out. Here's where we ask ChatGPT to get us started. Can you write an outline and table of contents for this book? Lo and behold, ChatGPT gets us started with exactly what we need. An introduction to web development, goes into the tools, setting up your environment. It's perfect. It's already going off to a great start. So we're already off to a great start. We have our table of contents and we have exactly what we want to go through. Now the next step is optional, but I like to do this to really boost the quality of the content that I'm generating with ChatGPT. What I want to ask ChatGPT is, for every section, I want it to provide me the subsections. So as you can see, it's gone ahead and for every chapter, it's broken it down into a few different points. And this is awesome because now we have our chapters and we have our sub-chapters. What I'm going to do is, now that I've got the first chapter, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this point right here. And I'm going to say, write the first chapter for this topic. And what ChatGPT is going to do is go ahead and write exactly what we need. So ChatGPT is going to continue writing this for us. And here's the great part about it. Because we've given it context, we've explained that this is the first chapter, it knows what we're writing. You will notice towards the end, it will even start saying things like, in this book, we will focus on, and provide the reader with a bit of context. And this is great. If you were to copy this, you've already got yourself the first part of the chapter, and then you can go on to write the next point by copying this and writing the next piece. And that's awesome. Now we can go through piece by piece and write each of those chapters. I do recommend going through and editing the content, making sure that it fits the style, but here's one extra step that you can take. I can have a look at this and I can provide ChatGPT with a sample content that I've written. So if I have some content that I've written, if I already write ebooks and I have my own tone, I can provide it with that as an example and then ask ChatGPT to rewrite it in my tone. Now, I don't have content that I'm going to feed ChatGPT, but what I can go ahead and do is say, rewrite this as though it was written by Gary Vaynerchuk. You can already see that the first chapter starts off, has the word hustle in there. Super Gary V-like. Web development is the hustle of creating and maintaining websites to mix. And you'll see, you have a look at that and you'll notice that it's a lot more in his tone. So now you might be wondering, what do I do once I've finished writing this ebook? So ChatGPT has pretty much generated all of that content for me. You can go ahead and put that into a Google Doc. You can use that on Microsoft Word. Another one I would recommend is Notion. So you can actually turn this into a Notion ebook. So if you head over to notion.so, you'll be able to create your own ebook on Notion, publish that, make it live. But also now if you want to sell it, we're going to jump into Gumroad. So now that we've written our ebook, we've popped it into something like Notion or any other text editor, and we now have it ready for sale. If I export it as a PDF or whichever format that I want to use, I now need to be able to sell this ebook. So the platform that I'm going to show you is called Gumroad. So you may have heard of Gumroad before. If you jump into gumroad.com, you'll be able to go through, look at their features. So what you're able to do with Gumroad is be able to set up your own online storefront, pop your product on there, upload that ebook, and start making some revenue. Now, of course, I don't want to leave out the fact that you do need to advertise it, obviously get it in front of people, get some eyes on that book, otherwise your product is just going to sit there. But also one of the great things about Gumroad is it is a flat rate pricing. So if you don't sell a product, you don't pay anything. But once you sold, they take 10% and you make your profits. So with that, you're able to now generate your own ebook using ChatGPT. Super simple. It's a great way for you to get started with publishing if that's something you've always wanted to do, but also a way for you to start your own side hustle if you've got some knowledge that you want to share. I will reiterate, like I said in earlier videos, it's super important for you to know exactly what you're talking about and what you're writing. Otherwise, anyone can just have generic content generated by ChatGPT, and therefore your book is kind of obsolete. But if you know what you're talking about, then you can hone in on specific topics that others may not be covering in their books or their content. So I'm sure this point is not going to be a surprise, but now that you've mastered the art of ChatGPT and you understand how to use it, and you don't want to go down the path of generating revenue on your own, having to market your own product, you can actually be applying for jobs with these skills. Now, of course, make sure that you have the background skill and understand how to do the thing that you're applying for in the first place. But now you can be using ChatGPT in your work, in your day job, and making your life a lot easier. Being able to level up your game, being able to speed up the rate at which you're generating content, producing great things for the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, there's a good chance that you'll be speeding up your process to promotions and getting bonuses and doing a whole bunch of other things. Obviously, if you want to be working with ChatGPT and monetizing your ChatGPT skills, there's a good chance that the work that you will be applying for or the work that you will be doing is going to fall under the categories of content generation, app development, web development, coding, things that ChatGPT is capable of doing. Now, if I'm a graphic designer, I can use it for content, but I can't ask ChatGPT to design a new logo for me. I can ask it for inspiration, some ideas, but at the end of the day, you do want to make sure that the capabilities of ChatGPT align with the work that you're doing or the work that you plan on doing. So make sure that you keep that in mind and hone in on those skills. Really focus on how you can leverage prompt engineering to get better responses. And that's when you'll be at the top of the ChatGPT game.